next Marvel film is Thor: Love and Thunder, and just to say the least, a lot of people have been very skeptical about it. People either love it and think it's like a top tier Marvel movie, or people just hate it. And I'm more in the middle on it. But I'm gonna do this video where basically I do on how I think the audience would better perceive Thor: Love and Thunder. For the record, I was one of the people who did like the movie, but I do not think it is quite top tier. I think it is a solid 8.3 out of 10. Something they could have done differently is have Zack Snyder and Taika Waititi work on the project. Even though I don't really see them as a great directing duo, I do think that having the both of them on it would have done a better movie, where Taika Waititi gave out the ideas for the movie and basically just said to make it a bit of a comedy, and then Zack Snyder just handled the rest. So that's how I would have done the directing of it. Secondly, even though I do like most of the jokes in Thor: Love and Thunder, I'm going to tone it down a bit because in my opinion, it had a bit too many jokes in my opinion. Now let's start breaking down the plot and how I think I could have changed it. First scene is perfect, so we will keep the first scene the way that it was originally intended to be. So next up we have Korg giving through his funny dialogue thing. And I would change this up a bit. I would not make Loki dying a joke. It is kind of funny that it did happen more than once, but they took some serious moments out of there and just turned it into a lighthearted joke. So, we'll just say that he died once, and that would be probably better. Next up, I wouldn't really have Thor, turn the tree into, a broom. I would just pick up the axe and fly away, because there's no need to really make that a joke, because it was just cheap humor. Then he flies down, does his normal, basically the same attack scene that's normally in it, but make the Guardians actually powerful too. Don't have, Thor undermine them as characters. And also, I feel like we will definitely cut out the split scene, because that part just makes me cringe hard. We keep the jokes for the rest of that scene, then we move to the scene with Jane, which I think was pretty good. And the only thing I would really change is the unnecessary dialogue about the book she wrote. Okay, next scene, Thor is with the Guardians, and he's seeing things on his, on the Guardians' watch thing about the God Butcher killing a ton of gods. Now, what I would do differently is, with this, they get on the comm thing, and they look, and we legit go into the scene, and we see Gore slaughtering, a group of gods, very brutally, and basically making him look way more menacing and intense. Then we cut to a part where we see Thor's friend in the ice. So then he's like, well, I have to go after her to save her. But the Guardians also recently got a distress call, which would be part of Guardians 3, which would set up Guardians 3 a bit. So we have a bit of foreshadowing there. So then they're going off to do that quest while Thor and Korg go after them. And we'll keep the coats because those are probably one of the more funny things about the movie. Okay, next scene, I would cut out the joke about her dying to actually go to Valhalla, because that one was a bit cringe. Also, I would add in the scene right before that where we actually see Gore fight that one god that was in the snow that was huge and it was a monster. Everything next, in my opinion, is completely fine. I don't really have much problems with the next couple scenes. So basically, I'm just going to keep it the same as it was in the original movie up to Gore escaping with the children. But we might extend the Thor versus Gore fight a bit to make it a bit more tough. The next scene where Thor and the group discuss on what to do, I'm going to cut out the entire Stormbreaker being jealous of Mjolnir part out of the movie, because I just feel like that's just kind of dumb. And also, it just adds unnecessary screen time. So they have the plan to come up with a way to, raise an army of gods to defeat him, because he took down some of the most powerful gods, which is the ice one, and almost killed Thor. He brutally attacks Thor. Thor almost dies in that scene. That he is one of the more, that they need to basically get an army of gods to stop him. So next we keep everything up to when they arrive at the god place. I don't remember what they call it, but the place where they had all the gods. Now this is the part where I'm going to be adjusting the movie the most. So for this, we're going to make the gods actually serious, the way Zack Snyder probably would have written them. So when they arrive, and basically it's going to be like the same setting. I just might turn down the saturation a bit to make it look more, to just basically make it a bit more serious. Then they like walk over and they find the gods having a huge feast on like, I don't know, a huge feast, I guess. So they're eating like food or something in front of like, while Zeus is having a big speech to the gods about, I don't know, ways that they could better help the earth, and like so that they could advance like religious beliefs on them. So Thor has to talk with Zeus, and it goes a bit as normally as it does in the movie, where they don't really agree, but we're gonna cut out all like Zeus showing off and stuff. And basically, Thor would basically, what would happen is Zeus would basically accidentally reveal that he only requires mortals to exist to worship them, because he just wants people to like praise him, and it basically shows him as a bit of like a coward. Well, not really a coward, but someone that only wants other people to like them. And that's also reflected through the conversation with the gods. But eventually, they just don't listen, and Zeus just commands Thor to leave, but Thor doesn't listen, and he tries to commute further. So eventually, Zeus tells all the other gods, he basically forms this wall around them so that they can't escape, and him and Thor have a very epic battle. Probably be one of the best fights in the entire MCU. Eventually, Zeus does win, though, and casts out Thor and the rest of them, and they have to make an escape on the goats like they did before, and they just leave, and eventually, basically the same stuff happens between then and there, except we're gonna actually have Zeus kill Korg, not for fake, for real. Because throughout the movie, Korg has been actually quite useless, and it just makes Thor more rageful. And he's relying on his love for Jane because it's the only thing keeping him mentally stable after losing his best friend and his entire family. So then they go to the Shadow Realm, and basically it's the same thing as before, except Gore's plan is different. Gore's plan is to just get the axe so that he knows where to find the gods, because eventually he's powerful enough to just fight them all. We're gonna have another fight between all of them versus Gore and his like monster things. Gore will win, take the axe, and then go to the God Realm. And Jane will also get very much wounded and will have to go to like the hospital. But Thor did rescue the kids while on the Shadow Realm. Then Valkyrie go to the place of the gods, and we have a very epic fight between Zeus. Basically, everyone is fighting each other. Zeus and Valkyrie versus all the gods and Gore. All the gods versus... Basically, everyone is fighting everyone except the main gods. And this would be the final battle of the movie, and it would probably be, like, one of the best final battles in the MCU. But, Jane can feel through the hammer that Thor is, like, dying, and Thor is literally, like, seconds away from being murdered, but she chooses love, and she goes after him and saves Thor. But then, Gore just stabs her, and then, Thor goes all rage mode because he basically just lost everyone to him, except Valkyrie, but he basically just lost everyone to him. So then he goes full rage mode, and him and Gore have a very epic fight that Gore has to escape to win. And the rest of the gods are baffled, and most of the gods are actually, dead. Only a few survived, but, like, the main ones, like Zeus, Poseidon, all of them are dead. So Gore gets away, which sets up, another movie where Gore is the main villain, because I thought he was such a good villain that they could have brought it for another movie, and the next movie would probably have to go with his redemption and how he turns good. But also we'd have a post-credit scene, where basically, we'd have a post-credit scene where Hades comes up to the gods, and he's just enraged because all of them are dead, and he was just relying on them for everything, and he just goes full rage mode, and he learns that, Thor was the reason why Gore could get to them. So he starts hunting down Thor, and so does Gore. Also wants to kill Thor because Thor basically almost killed him, and basically he also chopped off Gore's arm and Gore's leg. So he is very wounded at the moment. So they both want revenge on Thor. So the movie doesn't really have a happy ending, but it sets up a plot point for the last Thor movie, which would be called, here's how I would call it. So for this, we're going to make the gods actually serious, the way Zack Snyder probably would have written them. I would call it Vengeance because Thor wants revenge on Gore because Thor is now mentally broken, beat down, and he desperately wants to kill Gore, who isn't exactly the main antagonist, but we'll have Hades, who is the main antagonist, trying to scour the place looking for Thor and like destroying countless cities for him. And eventually we'll get a Hulk to become savage again for them to team up in that movie. Okay, so this is how I would fix Thor Love and Thunder. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and comment down below if you want me to do a part 2 where I actually write out Thor in the Vengeance of the Gods.